All right, welcome to Two Doctors Homestead. My name's Daniel, and this is a follow up to the video I did about a week ago. I don't know exactly when this is going to drop on War in 6 Days. And I was really trying to dig in on some of the headlines around the advancement of nuclear capabilities in Iran. So I've spent a lot of time digging into this, gathering information. I have about 40 news articles here. I've been trying to clear out some of the ones that are repetitive. I wanted to start out with this. This is armscontrol.org, timeline of nuclear diplomacy with Iran. It's about 100 pages long, so I read through it. It says 253 minutes to read it, about 4-hour read. Started to kind of go through it, do some test videos. It didn't really work out to go through it, right? So I did a summary on it, worked out to about 13 pages, started to go through that. That didn't really work out either, honestly. Pretty boring stuff when you're going through 20 plus years of, I will say, failed negotiations and pacts. It really started in 1967. I did want to pull out a few things because I think there's a lot of good information here. I just want to compress it down in a way that's consumable and not going to put everyone to sleep. In terms of sanctions, pacts, and treaties as it relates to Iran's nuclear program, if you go 1984, we added, the U.S. State Department adds Iran to its list of state sponsors of terrorism. If you go to 1992, we had the Iran-Iraq Arms Non-Proliferation Act. If you look at September 12, 2003, that's when the International Atomic Energy Agency Board of Governors adopts a resolution calling for Iran to suspend all enrichment. You look at January 20th, 2014, that's the implementation of the Joint Action Plan, JCPOA. You'll see that a lot. And then you look at April 8th, 2019, the United States designates the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a foreign terrorist organization. So that's just a quick snip on some of the sanctions, pacts, treaties, designations. If you look at some attacks, some of the violence involving Iran around the nuclear program, around Iran acting as a proxy or a host of terrorist activities. 1979, that was the Iranian Revolution and seizure of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. You got September 16th, 2020. So this was the Stuxnet computer virus, right, that actually seemed to target Iranian nuclear facilities. So you could say an attack against Iran. June 20th, 2019, Iran shot down a U.S. surveillance drone, said it was in Iranian airspace. We said it was not. September 14th, 2019, a drone and cruise missile damaged a Saudi oil field. July 2nd, 2020, explosion is reported at the Natanz enrichment facility. So we see a lot going on at the Natanz enrichment facility. November 27th, 2020, Iranian nuclear scientist Mohsen Fakhrizadeh is assassinated near Tehran. November 28th, 2020, Iran's blamed the Israelis for the assassination. So we have nuclear scientists being assassinated. April 11th, 2021, there was the active sabotage damages a power supply near Iran's primary enrichment facility. In terms of ballistic missile technology, basically they've been calling it a space program until they weren't. But during all the sanctions and peace talks and everything else going on, this is about 100 pages of sanctions and peace talks. February 3rd, 2009, they announced it successfully carried out its first satellite launch, which raised our concerns that it has ballistic missile potential. November 21st, 2015, Iran tests a medium-range ballistic missile, so they went from satellites to ballistic missiles. March 9th, 2016, they test two different versions of the Qadar medium-range ballistic missile. January 15th, 2019, they attempt to launch a satellite using a Shmorg launch vehicle. It failed to enter orbit. We said, it's not really a violation of the resolution. November 25th, 2019, we boarded a ship in the Arabian Sea and discovered a cache of weapons, including advanced missile components. They appear to be of Iranian origin. So, in 2019, they're building the missiles and they're exporting the technology, and that's one of the fears we'll talk about. July 29th, 2020, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard, just demonstrate Iran's newfound capability to launch missiles from underground. So underground missile silos. February 1st, 2021, Iran tested a new satellite launcher, three-stage satellite launcher. October 3rd, 2021, Israeli intelligence head shares his assessment Iran is over 2 years away from mastering the weaponization activities that would constitute nuclear breakout. Well, that was 2021. We're in 2023. February 9th, 2022, Iran displays new solid fuel missile with a reported range of 900 miles. And then November 15th, 2020, U.S. Navy announces seizure of explosive materials used for ballistic missile fuel. So Iran, through the entire time, through all the talks and negotiations and treaties, has been developing their ballistic missile technology. In terms of uranium enrichments, there's a ton of headlines in here. I don't want to dig on that too much. You go February 9th, 2020, Iran begins the processing of producing 20% enriched uranium, allegedly for the nuclear power plant. So just like ballistic missiles was a space program, enriched uranium was nuclear power plants, nuclear reactors. So really it was 2010 is kind of when they hit the 20%. And one credit to all of the peace talks, the treaties, is they pretty much stayed at 20% up until the 2021 range. However, they did still continue to develop ballistic missile technology, centrifuge technology, all the other technologies continued to develop. They just did not enrich uranium, as far as we know, really past that 20% mark. There were a lot of breaks from the treaties and violations. So we'll jump in a little bit here. April 13th, 2021, Iran notifies the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, that it's begun to boost enrichment levels to 60%, right? And it has multiple centrifuges, advanced centrifuges now. Again, August 17, 2021, accelerates its enrichment of 60% uranium-235. And then March 3rd, 2022, IAEA reports that Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium is about 3,197 kilograms, 33 kilograms of which is enriched up to 60%. So they did hold. So in that sense, you could say that the JCPOA had some effect, but at the same time, they've continued to develop the technology, and really the last couple of years, they're kind of bringing it all together. So that's 100 pages in summary. You're welcome to jump in and read it. I wanted to jump more into some of the more recent headlines, recent developments. I'm going to take a step back and backtrack through some of what we covered on the last video, which is why I said war in 6 days. And I said that was about a week ago. So we'll see where we're at. This is pretty good, 2004, and there's a lot of different variations on this, implications of a nuclear Iran. One is, of course, the proliferation of nuclear weapons by Iran. Iran has been designated a sponsor of terror. So there's always been this fear that terrorists could get nuclear weapons, and if they can, maybe they'd get them from Iran. If Iran has a lot of nukes lying around, maybe hypothetically they would provide access to terrorists of those, and we're already seeing the export of some of the technologies around the missiles and whatnot, right? So that's one implication, is that the terrorist side, there's also the proliferation of nukes, in that if Iran has them, other countries in the Middle East are going to push to get them. Now you have a lot of nuclear-powered countries that didn't exist before, once again increasing the risks of nukes being used, nuclear explosions, right? And it sort of makes Iran untouchable, as we see with North Korea, we see with Russia now. So a lot of implications. I'm going to backtrack through this pretty quickly. This has just been one president after another saying we will not allow nuclear weapons in Iran. We've been pretty clear. Bush said it, Clinton said it, Obama said it, and Trump said it, right? We'll never allow them to have nuclear weapons. Don't want to dig into that too much, other than we've repeated over and over, we'll never allow them to have nuclear weapons. Mossad, Israel saying, no, we're going to do whatever it takes to stop them from getting nuclear weapons. Once again, they may have got nuclear weapons last week, right? Based on the reports from the Pentagon. This is where we start getting the holy cow, what's going on moment. Iran weeks away from having enough to build nuclear bombs. That was back in February. Once again, U.S.-Israel vow will never allow them to get nuclear weapons. So this is from Iran, basically, August 1st, 2022. So basically, Iran saying that if we attack them, they will build nukes and they will turn New York into hellish ruins. So this is during all the treaties and the talks and saying they don't have nukes. They're certainly saying, well, we'll go ahead and build them and blow up New York. So this is certainly one of the reasons we wouldn't want Iran to have nuclear weapons. We haven't been the most peaceful people. You've got Iran threatens to destroy Israel, right? A lot of threats. Certainly we're making threats back to Iran. Iran has no shortage of making threats. Iran threatens the U.S. and Israel saying they will be buried. So this is end of 2022. Hey, we're going to blow you guys up. So we're not allies. I will say that. We're not friends. We're not allies. We threaten. They threaten. Now, this is Saudi minister saying all bets are off if Iran gets a nuclear weapon. This was December 2022, essentially saying if they get nukes, we're going to need nukes too. And that's really the all bets are off, right? So if Iran gets nukes, you're going to have that proliferation. You're going to have nukes all over the place. And we've tried pretty hard to prevent that from happening. The fear being the more people have nukes, the more likely one's going to get used. This is another threat from Iran, December 2022. Iran threatens to raise Tel Aviv, destroy Daman if Israel hits nuke sites. So essentially what this is saying is if you hit our nuke sites, we're going to attack you simultaneously. And it sort of paints a grim picture that, by the time your jets get back from the strike in Iran, there won't really be a base to return to. So we'll see on that. 7 minutes will destroy all of Israel or a bunch of Israel. So they're threatening back, right? If you strike us, if you attack our nuclear facilities, we will attack you back. Now China comes in. This is kind of an interesting one. China calls for quick resolution of Iran nuclear dispute. Basically saying we need to get back to the JCPOA and we need to get back to our talks. It really hasn't prevented Iran from developing the technology. Maybe it slowed them down on refining the uranium to the levels you need for a nuclear bomb. It didn't prevent them from developing the technology needed for ballistic missiles for the refinement of uranium. I'd say it's kind of a bust, right? But we are saying here is China is investing billions of dollars in Iran. They did sign a 25-year cooperation accord. We're seeing China is Iran's biggest trading partner. So China is being opportunistic here, and they're sort of pulling Iran out of all of the sanctions that we've had on them. They're taking advantage of the oil producing capabilities of Iran. They're getting into the region, right? Saying, we'll buy your stuff, right? And they seem to be backing up Iran, saying, no need for war here. Let's just keep talking about it. So this was another iteration from Israel saying February 6, 2023, saying we will prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons capabilities. That may have happened last Sunday. This is a Jewish news syndicate. We must prepare for nuclear Iran, February 17, 2023. And I mentioned before, I have a friend in Israel. I've been talking to him, and he sort of says, we don't know. No one really here on the ground knows what's about to happen here. This is one of the 12-day warnings, February 28th, nuclear missiles in 12 days. Another 12-day warning could produce nuclear material in about 12 days. That was March 1st. And this was the Pentagon, 12 days. And that's really what kicked off the last video. Once again, March 1st, so that would have been about March 12th, last Sunday. So there's a lot of evidence to suggest that they have been able to produce enough material for a nuclear bomb, and when we look historically at their ballistic missile program, they certainly have developed the ballistic missile technology to deliver a nuclear bomb. So this was the March 2nd, repeats threat against a nuclear Iran, saying we'll never allow it to happen. Well, I mean, it's happening, guys. So this article, I have a hard time getting it to load. It basically is us talking to Israel, talking about Israel, saying, we're worried Israel would attack Iran without us, right? I mean, even though we've been saying we wouldn't allow Iran to develop nuclear weapons. Israel's been saying we wouldn't allow Iran to develop nuclear weapons. We're sort of telling Israel, hey, you probably shouldn't attack Iran anyway. And this is saying even 84% enrichment. This was March 8th. Doesn't make it easier for Israel to move. They're not getting a lot of support from the UN. They're not getting a lot of support from anyone. Really, it seems like, including us. And we'll dig in on that to actually go in and stop Iran from developing nuclear weapons, despite decades of saying they would. Now, this is where it gets a little more complicated. You've got Iran secured a secret deal with Russia over uranium for nuke program. Seeing a lot more deals between Iran and China, between Iran and Russia. So that Iran has some powerful friends. And basically, Russia's saying, hey, we've got your back. If you lose your materials, if you give it up and you lose it, we'll give it back to you. Just kind of an overall deal. Who knows? We don't know the extent of what the deal was, but clearly we're seeing a lot more collaboration between Iran and Russia and Iran and China. Once again, 3.9 will not tolerate a threshold Iran. Okay. This is March 10th, about 7 days ago. It's time for Israel to make a decision. I think March 12th was the date they were supposed to have the materials to make the nuclear bomb. They're saying, pointing out, Iran has open about the desire to wipe out Israel. They've mentioned it a few times. We've got some articles on it. Iran has said they won't allow them to get the nuclear bomb. So more talk, right? More talk there. Who's going to do what? So we're trying to get through these quickly. So this is Saudi-Iran detente. I'm sorry on that. A setback for Israel's wake-up call on U.S. ties. So what we're seeing is China. China is now getting involved in Middle East peace talks, and they're actually brokering some peace deals between Saudi Arabia and Iran. We'll see how long that lasts. We'll see if Iran has nukes, if Saudi will still get nukes. It's not entirely obvious what impact this will have, but it does show China flexing its muscles, spreading out in the Middle East and brokering some peace deals here. Next one, Iran reports highest oil exports since the sanctions over the nuclear deal, which was a long time ago, and it just shows once again China stepping in and buying that cheap Iranian oil. Not sure I can blame them. So this is interesting. Iran expected to avoid censure with latest nuclear steps. So this is about March 12th. There seems to be a sub-thread going here where Iran saying, hey, we're complying with the deal, guys. We put the cameras back up, right? So we're going to put the cameras back up. We didn't mean to enrich the uranium up to 83.7%. All just a big misunderstanding. Let's get the peace going again. Okay. Another one, Iran to purchase Su-35 fighter jets from Russia. This is March 12th, right? So this was Sunday. This would greatly improve Iran's defensive capabilities, having these later generation fighter jets. If you saw the latest Top Gun Maverick, right, these guys make it harder to come in and do a strike on the nuclear facilities. This is another one, 3/13/2023, Iran nuclear bomb, truth and consequences, Mideast Mindset. And it basically says what we've already said, which is to say if they develop the nuclear bomb, are they going to use it? Well, a lot of people are saying no. Some people are saying, obviously, Israel thinks yes. But it will move them into a whole new level as a country, make it very difficult to prevent them from doing attacks, right? There's the proliferation side, there's the terrorism side. There's a lot of sides of this that are not very desirable. So Italy steps in, asks the IAEA, which is part of the UN, to prevent Iran from getting nukes. Not seeing a lot of actual activity other than everyone saying, yeah, we need to prevent them from getting nukes. That was the 13th. That was about a day after they may have already have the nukes. So this is the IAEA. Once again, the UN coming in March 13th, telling Israel don't attack Iran. Right? Basically, the UN saying you don't attack them. Right? Not going to happen. Right? So Israel's not getting a lot of support for any kind of a strike. Once again, we have Iran threatening to annihilate Israel. if any kind of attacks happen, right? And just a general overall, we will annihilate you. So here we are now. If you've seen, as I mentioned, Top Gun Maverick, you know it's a difficult strike to get in and destroy those Iranian enrichment facilities that are buried in a mountain. I don't know if Maverick's involved in this or Tom Cruise, but here we are, March 13th. Israel-U.S. launched drills to practice long-range aerial scenarios. So it mentions two-week joint training drill. So that was the 13th, which was Monday. So does that mean that was a week ago, 2 weeks? Does that mean we're going to strike Iran? I mean, it's certainly possible, right? So we are now in long-range training drills with Israel. Hints of possible attack. So last week, 2 weeks ago, I said war in 6 days. We might be back to war in a week, right? I don't know. We've been saying it for a long time, and there's a lot of people telling us not to do it, and we're sort of telling Israel not to do it. So I don't know what's going to happen. So we're going to jump back in with war in 1 week, right? We'll see on this. And then I think the last article here I wanted to give you, this was back in China brokered historic truce between Saudi Arabia and Iran, and maybe they can do Ukraine next, right? And China's just stepping in, taking advantage of cheap oil and exports, and they're making their peace deals, and they're saying this could give Russia an out. That China is now a great peacemaker, and if Russia wants a excuse to get out of the Ukraine war, then maybe China can step in and broker that peace deal. It makes China look more powerful, more relevant on the global stage, and it certainly doesn't make us look very powerful or relevant. And we all want peace. So if this is all true, great, we'll take the peace. But we're going to see, right? So really the big ending here is we are now launching drills, which may be a precursor to a strike against Iran. Iran has made it clear they will strike back. Russia, China seem to be backing Iran. We don't have the coalition we had when we attacked Iraq over their alleged weapons of mass destruction. So it could get ugly, it could get messy, right? If we do the attack and if Iran counterattacks, that could lead to more attacks. It could be a very ugly, messy, expensive war, especially if Iran already has the nuke now. They have Russian technology, they have Chinese technology. So we will keep an eye on it. I'm not trying to do clickbait, doom and gloom. This seems very relevant. It's been going since 1964. It's been going since 2000. It's been going for 15, 20 years. We've been warning this day would come, and it seems like we're there. So I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Of course, reach out with any comments, thoughts, concerns.